Straight from a party.
Ah! Abort! Abort! They found it. One of my family members on my YouTube, and my sister knows, like, one of my sisters, what the other one does. And my mom vaguely knows. I don't want this. I don't want it. I vent a lot on here and talk about my feelings a lot, so some things I just want to keep private. And with them knowing makes me uncomfortable. It's not a totally bad thing, it's just like, But I'll stop and I guess I'll start the video actually. Hi guys, it's Luna. Welcome back to another video. Now I'm going to tell you something very concerning, but you must know because you're going to hear it. Hopefully you won't, but you might. I'm dying. Not actually, but I have things that are similar to symptoms of the coronavirus. I'm not saying I got it, just saying that I believe, because it happened right after this, I ate a bad meal at Burger King. And I think I got food poisoning from that. And when I throw up now, I throw up aggressively. On top of that, I was like going on a bad trip from weed. So I throw up aggressively to the point where my stomach started hurting. And that's not abnormal. But what's different about this personally is that also my chest kind of hurts and heart kind of hurts to like breathe in and out. So that's concerning. But I think it's just from me throwing up so aggressively that like my stomach starts hurting and breathing hurts and, you know, doing things where I have to like inhale and exhale hurts. I don't think it's the corona. Other than that, I'm fine. I haven't gone nowhere. Well, nowhere that I didn't have a mask on or I washed my hands or shit like that. So I'm fine. But like if you hear me like like a fat ass, it's not just because I'm fat. It's because like I'm genuinely having problems breathing. Anyways, past all that initial warning and anxiety and whatnot, pain, frustration, irritation. You should be warned because I forgot to put the warning at the very beginning, but I haven't talked about anything just yet. We are referencing things that have to do with Onision, so topics like grooming, abuse, and just overall degenerate, gross behavior will be discussed and or referenced. Not really discussed in detail, really, but if you know the story or want to look it up or want to go watch the docu-series in question, just know these things will be referenced in it and talked about in it, and there will be very graphic things that you might see or hear when watching it. In this video, there's not going to be anything that's really graphic, but I thought I just should warn people. But I would never recommend you guys watch this docuseries, period. I feel like it's disrespectful and gross, and the only reason I watched it was because I thought that maybe I was overreacting, maybe something good would come out of this, maybe they wouldn't be scumbags in the way that they were, and it just kind of seemed like they ended up being that. I'd already heard bad things. I just wanted to see if maybe it wasn't that bad. And trust me, I was getting free trials left and right just so I didn't have to pay any amount of money to see any of this shit. And I wouldn't watch it. It's the behavior, disgusting. And there won't really be any visuals in this because they're scummy enough, I feel like, and money hungry enough to just take any video down that uses even kind of any content from docu-trash. So I'll be talking about it, but if you want like better in-depth videos on what Chris Hansen has done, what Onision has done, again, there are many other people, and I said in this video, there are many other people that can do this way better than you. Can literally look it up and you'll find people way better. I just wanted to shit on this because I found it irritating, and I didn't even go as hard as I wanted to because I was trying not to make it an hour-long rant and discussing the entirety of everything this man has done. But, you know. Did I already say hi guys, it's Luna, welcome back to another video. Hopefully I did, I believe I did. Today we're going to be talking about the Onision investigation, or rather the docu-series that was made. And boy is it trash. It's big trash. It's big trash. Now listen, I think we all think that Onision is a really gross, scummy person who's giving off predator vibe. We have no technical like smoke and gun evidence of it because we can't go to police with a lot of our evidence because it's circumstantial at best. But we have enough that suggests that he did illegal things, and we have a pattern of behavior that at this point is fucking ridiculous, and why he's not in jail we don't understand, but it's whatever. well, it's not, but we can't do much about it. Like, I can't do much about it. You can't do much about it. Most people can't do much about it. And if you didn't know, during this entire time, we've kind of leaned on one person in particular to help boost this situation. And that person was Chris Hansen. Now, if you haven't seen my video talking about Chris Hansen and how I felt about Chris Hansen, everyone, low-key, is under the general assumption that Chris Hansen is a scumbag. He really only got into talking about the Onision stuff for money and for fame and to revive his dead-ass career. Some people don't think so, but a lot do at this point. We're all kind of mutually disappointed in this man. And while I'm not going to go through all of the allegations and all the things that have happened, because there are plenty of videos that do a way better job than I ever could on tackling the topic, I am going to talk about the docuseries because I watched it because I thought, oh, this is going to be like something that's either informative or gives more information or something. Like, it does something positive. I was wrong. It did the exact opposite, actually. It did more harm than good, in my opinion. It was actively disrespectful. It was gross, and it made this money-hungry scoundrel out to be somebody better than he was. And I'm referring to Chris Hansen. He's fucking a leech at this point. He's a fucking barnacle, in my opinion. And he looks way worse. I won't be tackling everything, but I'll just be giving my general thoughts on what happened. So let me stop rambling and actually get into it, or at least some of the problems that I have. My first one and biggest one, I think almost everybody's irritation, is how they handled the victims of the situation. Now, a good chunk of the victims, well, some of them anyways, actively wanted to participate in this docuseries, which I have no problem with. If they want to tell their stories, if they want to speak about their experiences, I have no problem with it. Even though one of the victims, specifically Shiloh, has been rather snaky and suspicious and scummy and a general awful person, if she wants to speak on her experiences and how she felt, because she did have some damage done to her by Greg. Now, her whole story has been a bit confusing. However, it's her story to tell, and if she wants to tell it on TV and talk about her negative experiences, I have no problem with that. No qualms, nothing. I feel nothing about it. But the other ones. The other victims actively were against this. They did not want their stories told in any way, shape, or form. They turned down interviews. They turned down talking about it. They made it very, very known that they want nothing to do with it. Take 5 seconds to just theorize about why I'm mad right now. What they might have done. Do you know yet? They did exactly that. They told their stories. They talked about their experiences. Hell, they technically showed them, but blurred their face. It was a really bad blur. Not like blurred half the body. Not like blurred their actual face. Like just blurred their faces. Even though they showed YouTube videos on Chris Hansen's channel that are actively accessible, they blurred their names though. Well, it wouldn't be hard to look up the interviews and see the shitty blurs they did on a YouTube channel with not that many interviews in the specific subject. It's not fucking hard because I did it immediately when I saw that shit. So it's not very hard. Told their stories and their experiences without them there, even though they wanted nothing to do with the situation. And that was my biggest thing. I wouldn't even be talking about this if they didn't do that. I would just been like, oh, this sucks, because, oh, there are many other problems. But this was my biggest. Hell, even Chris Hansen was gloating about how he respected the victims and whatnot. Where's that respect? Trash. Just trash all of them. And Shiloh's shady as hell because she was in solidarity with them. We're not gonna do it. If you guys aren't gonna do it, I'm not fucking gonna do it. Guess who was on a documentary? Shady ass Shiloh. That's who we're gonna call her now. Shady Shiloh. Because she immediately went back on that. And honestly, I'm not even gonna be mad at her for it. Sure, she portrayed people that were also victims, but she does have the right to tell her story if she has the need to. I honestly don't find too much of a problem with it, other than her being a raging fucking hypocrite and shady to people who genuinely trusted her. And even though, yeah, it's an asshole thing, she's kind of a dick. She's kind of an actually awful person, so I'm not really surprised that she went back on it. And they really shouldn't be surprised either with her previous actions beforehand. She's not really a trusted person in the situation other than just being a victim with a story. Anything else, I really don't want to give her any information. I wouldn't trust her with anything. I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. But let's get off that because I could go on for hours. There is the laughable, I mean, genuinely, me and my boyfriend would laugh at this while we were watching it. The laughable visuals. It just seemed like a shitty YouTube video. I mean shitty in the sense of they didn't know how to balance out anything. It just seemed like it started out with very high production, but they didn't know how to incorporate video that they didn't shoot themselves into said production, which is a not so great thing in my opinion. Honestly, the right opinion had better edited videos than this, honestly. It felt weird, out of place. They jumped from place to place to place to place of the stories. Stuff didn't seem cohesive. Even the people that they had involved in the sense of law enforcement, people that are supposed to be helping and having a knowledge on this case just seemed like they barely understood what was going on. Hell, speaking of that, everybody seemed like they barely understood what was going on. It seemed like they watched 2 YouTube videos on the situation and listened to Chris Hansen's bullshit information and barely knew what should be said, what information they should have put out there. Hell, if this is all the information that they're going to put out there to have the story be pushed out, I'm like, I'd rather you watch any of the YouTube channels that were built upon this information because they have a plethora of better videos that sum up this shit. But hell, watch a Right Opinions video and you get more substance and information and it'd be put to you in a cohesive 3+ hour video than watching any of the episodes of this documentary. Hell, they couldn't even tell you most of the information because they had no clearance, because they were making a joke out of it. And looking at what they put up just with Shiloh and everybody else, they weren't good at it. They weren't good at their job. When you have to put YouTubers and YouTube videos to supplement your videos from people that you barely know are even credible or not, or barely know even if they had good information on the situation, when you have to do that just because you don't have enough information instead of doing the research yourself and actually just play out the facts of the matter, when you can't even use other people's content to supplement your, it's ridiculous. It's actually dumb. It's actually fucking ridiculous. Like, I'm like, even without the YouTube videos and the YouTubers that didn't want to be a part of this or any of that shit, you could have very much put out information that would have been something new, maybe something else. The best they did was put information out with the dad, and that information couldn't be verified. I doubt they even tried to verify it. It was basically just like, we're gonna believe you because reasons. We're gonna take your word for it because reasons. Hell, if you don't want to make the assumption, oh well, they were trying to tell the dad's side of the story. The dad's side of the story could be a lie, just like Greg's side of the story could be a lie. If you took out the whole his dad part of the entire documentary, it wouldn't have impacted it at all. Or docu-series, I keep saying it's documentary, but I guess it's a mess, really. It's all a mess. Because they barely did any research other than 2 YouTube videos, they barely knew what to do. The cops seem like, well, how they usually are with a situation, because every time cops are involved in situations like this, especially when it's over the internet, they seem to be like, well, we're doing our best. It's like, well, how? This has been going on for how many years? And people have been calling, and you're showing proof that people have been calling, and that there is something of substance here, and you've done nothing so far. Is Chris Hansen gonna fucking change that? No. And I love how they didn't even talk about any of the shit Chris Hansen has done. They haven't talked about how he's been botching this investigation. They haven't talked about how he's mishandling evidence. They didn't talk about any of that. They didn't even bring this shit up. They didn't bring up how the case is going, what's happening, what shouldn't be doing, what you should be doing. They gave nothing of value. Hell, you want to even say that they brought it into the public eye? They didn't. It's on Discovery Plus. That means I have to pay $5 just to see this. And if you don't already know who Onision is, who's gonna care? It'd be different if this was on Discovery Channel or something, you know what I mean? But from what I can see, the only publicity is from people who genuinely come across it that have no idea about it. And even if you want to give some type of validity to like, okay, well, it's getting some publicity outside of the internet, right? What then? Because it seems like their solution in that documentary was, or docu-series, I keep calling it documentary, it is not. It's a docu-series, it is a trash bin docu-series. But in that docu-series, their only solution was get him off of YouTube, get him off of platforms. So they start banning predators, this wouldn't be a problem. He is not a predator, you know that, right? Like, I think, this is what I mean of like, they didn't even try. We brand him a predator. We branded him a groomer. We branded him someone who's a degenerate, but there's no case here. Not yet anyway. Maybe they're working on one. But right now, there's nothing stopping him. He can still be a regular member of society and basically just been doing this behind closed doors. It does not solve the problem. It doesn't even scratch the damn surface. Again, he's an idiot to where we know about this. That's all that is. He's just an idiot. There are people who aren't idiots, who don't show us this type of stuff. We've been seeing it pop up lately. The people that are a bit more sneaky, and there are even people layers deep that are way more sneaky that we'll never know about because they hide their tracks very well. So their whole, it's YouTube's fault type attitude that they took as a lesson that should be learned is the stupidest shit of life. YouTube doesn't want to be sued. Every company, every network can't be fucking sued. Because this is what this will go into. If you're calling someone something, even if you have enough common sense evidence, if there's no case, no legal action, no nothing, you can't just call someone a predator. You can't just say that someone's touching kids or diddling kids with absolutely no proof. You just can't do that. Or any proof that you haven't put to the police and they've started anything on, you just can't. Hell, really, until he's convicted, it's not going to change anything. And that's what happened with most predators. So you can't just be like, oh, we're going to shut your whole platform down because you're an alleged predator. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's not how it works. You get sued up the wazoo. And then you'd be sued. Your network would be sued. Everybody will be sued. The only reason Discovery Plus specifically isn't sued in this case is Greg knows he's not going to win. But that's one person. You keep doing that with every person you think is a predator, it will start piling up to where you can't just be throwing money every 5 seconds. Hell, you had to get a streaming platform because your views have been going down. Let's be 100 here. Discovery Plus is just another way for you to make money. You wouldn't need to make that money if Discovery Channel was doing good. So let's not act like you're doing alright. So you got a group of people that you alleged are predators that are suing you for hundreds, millions of dollars, court cases, lawyers that you have to pay for all the fucking time. People don't have time for that. As many false allegations that are on YouTube and shit, everybody doesn't have money like that. People have employees to hire. They got algorithms that they need to fuck up. They need to pay people for that. They have shit they need to do. They have to pay their creator. It just seemed like there's such a lack of care in this whole thing. That's mind-boggling to me. They put this out there and they were like, yeah, this is good. And as many YouTubers that they pinned as like Onision supporters, or at least insinuated that in some way, it's fucking disgusting. Hell, the fact they even insinuated that Chris Hansen was the person who pioneered this, he's just someone who jumped on the fucking bandwagon, is crazy bonkers to me. What are you talking about? This man contributed nothing. Not zero. He regurgitated a bunch of shit, got a bunch of interviews, and that's about it. He has less subscribers than some of the people who have been talking about. What are you referring to, sir? He's been shady with the victims. He's been shady with evidence. He's been shady towards the YouTubers that, again, had all this information that he took and regurgitated out of his fat mouth. Like, I don't understand. He talks all this talk, but still allowed these people to use any of the victims that specifically said not to use their fucking stories. Let them use those stories and let them blur out their faces like they can't be found in this documentary still. But still trying to have some form of credibility. It also makes it really funny because they also low-key contradicted themselves in the same fucking docu-series. They said that Chris Hansen really got the ball rolling, but then made it very clear that Chris Hansen was jumping onto a case, and then outright at one point was just like, there have been thousands of other videos over the course of several years, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well he got the most publicity and made it more legitimized. I'm having a stroke. What am I saying? He made it legitimate and made it more public to everybody, or made it more in the mainstream, which is that what we're calling this now? I don't know, this is the mainstream Discovery Plus. I mean, I guess, but even then, we'll have to see how this actually affects the case, which I don't think it will significantly. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's something, I guess. Like, honestly, I think he just paid all of the YouTubers in this in a worse light, or like they were almost piggyback offing him because they low-key ruined his career, because we all know he's a fucking scumbag because we exposed his bullshit. And also, they did make like one weird mention about bullying, and like YouTube should be held accountable because like if a teacher doesn't stop a student from being bullied, that teacher can be liable. Please tell that to my 16-year-old self, because guess what, teachers weren't liable for actually bullying me in real life. Like them bullying me themselves, like talking shit about me. That happened in real life. They were not held accountable. That does not happen. You're lying, ma'am. You're out of touch. They almost never get held accountable. This is a private school. Then maybe, but whatever. Anyways, it's even more laughable that these people that should be experts, that should know this type of stuff, a lady that was talking about how she talks and knows and does stuff in the field to do with exploiting children, things like that, and child abuse, all that, doesn't understand that you can't, whether this person solidly did something or not, you can't just be saying, hey, this person can't do this, hey, this person can't do that. It's not that easy. You have to have some form of case against that person, and you have to be very careful with your words, what you do, how you take action, all of that shit. The fact that she didn't know that, they didn't know that, the police didn't know that, but they're talking about, oh, well, the algorithm helps support this type of stuff and YouTube just wants to make up money off of it and all that type of shit. If you think that YouTube's main thing is making money, and they're mainly making it off of the ad revenue and shit like that, okay, if that's what you think, that their main focus is that, it's more for collecting data and shit like that. Sure, they do make money in some semblances, but their collection of data is more important. Now, I would sit here and argue the inner workings of YouTube and shit like that, but to be fair, it goes into a long rabbit hole of research and shit like that. And again, you can make some argument for a lot of the points that they made, but all of it just seemed like they just didn't even do the research it took to really understand this case and what's going on. And it's unfortunate, in my opinion, because it's crazy how they want to deplatform and take revenue and money off of somebody that they believe is so toxic, and they believe they have all the evidence to prove that, but they don't have enough evidence to go to police and convict him. Let's be honest. You don't have enough to do that. Or at least the FBI has to get enough evidence to somewhat make a case. Sure, Chris Hansen could have done that, but he said he's done that for how long? And what has the response been? He's moved on. Low-key, he's moved on in the situation. This is kind of his last thing, and now he's trying to do other shit. It seems like he doesn't even care anymore. Maybe that's just me. But instead of just doing what they usually do in documentaries like this, where they hype up information, they do extra shit, instead of doing all the shit that they usually do that's basically just trying to make it the most salacious thing, I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more research. They actually came to conclusions. It had actual solutions that would actually work in the real world, and didn't just have a bunch of dumbasses talking about something they obviously have no idea about, or they were obviously briefed about probably maximum a week before they even had these interviews, instead of not actually having people on who seemed like they gave a fuck. Honestly, it just kind of seemed like you had people on who were talking so they can be done and get their paycheck and go. I don't think any of these people care enough to continue to look after this guy. They've gotten their paycheck. They spun the narrative they were trying to spin, which I don't even think is entirely bad, but a good chunk of it is bad. It's bad. It's really bad. And you'll never hear from them again. You'll never see them again unless it's on the news, and then they'll be like, we first broke the story. Haha, while I was on this interview, I did this. You're not going to see them really participating in any significant way, I doubt. But then again, it could just be me being cynical. Because I have many more things I could put out, and there's probably 100 things I'm going to cut out of this because it's way too long already. Point is, this was a joke. This was shitty. It looked shitty. Oh, and don't even get me started about that dumbass intro they have of the Onision looking like fucking something straight out of a low-budget YouTube video. It looks shitty. It was shitty. It's a mess. Most people involved are sketchy assholes who are gross. I feel bad for the victims, whether they were in this or not. It just feels like this was made with ulterior motives involved. And obviously, most content on TV or on YouTube is made like. But this just, as someone who has followed this since I used to actually like and watch Onision, which I don't anymore, I haven't for a very long time. But when I did, before I knew about the stuff that I know about now, or even what I knew about back then, before also this other stuff came out. I knew before Billy, like it was a whole thing. But as someone who's been following this because it genuinely grossed me out even before, it makes me irritated and makes me upset. This wasn't handled with a bit more care. It's different when you watch these type of documentaries and you have no idea what they're talking about. It's a new experience, and I'm sure that's how they put everything, as it was coming through the eyes of a new viewer. Ew. Like, that's how I feel. So yeah, I hated it. I have to take like little breaks in between because my chest hurts. But that's the end of this video. If you like this video, like it. If you want to sub, you can. I'm nobody now. I'm going to be hiding my name and who I am. I'm gonna delete my channel tomorrow. Kidding. But like, I hate it. I just hate everything right now. But I'll see you guys later. BB.